So, it's fairly light agenda, actually the same agenda that we would have had last month, had we been able to meet. We have one presentation, and, in advance of that, let's go ahead and, approve, this will be the July 8th minutes. We did not, as you know, have an August meeting. So these are the minutes from our last meeting, which was so, we don't have a chance to look over, I guess I sent them out last week. Any comments or questions or anything about it? Okay,
They look good to me.
good. So, then we'll move to approve them. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Okay, good. Second, okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are passed, from the July meeting, and they'll be posted on the website. Okay, so, our main order of business tonight is to look at the revisions, to the proposal for 506 Dudley. Chris presented to us in July. We had a conversation, and I actually had a subsequent meeting with him, and then a further discussion. So what we'll be seeing tonight will be the later iteration of the plan you all saw back in July. So, Chris, I will turn it over to you. Would you like to come on up?
Yeah, sure.
We'll, spread out the drawings and take us through it. After that, then we'll have a period of comments and questions from the heart. And then hopefully move to a vote after that.
Great. Where would you like me to?
Here's
Here?
yeah, and we can get
Come around.
whatever works best.
Exactly. Thanks, guys, for having us back. So yeah, I'll go through the revisions we talked about, just to kind of remind everyone some of the concerns we have, were that the addition was kind of larger. You know, the width of it was larger than the original house, so that was a concern. That we really wanted to feel kind of, you know, ancillary to the original house. There's also concern about the dueling front entry doors. So we revised the drawings, we kind of reorganized the second floor plan to allow us to kind of narrow up the front about 16 feet of the addition. So that's now I think 15'1" wide, so it's narrower than the original main house, which is 16'1". So we've narrowed it to the front, so from the street view, it's less impactful. We eliminated the new front entry door that we had in the original addition, and it's now we're reusing the front facade of the original building. And we are reworking that in order to kind of make the program fit. We have an office down on the in that area, so we did flip flop where the front entry door is. So it's the exact same relationship, the front door and that first floor window, just mirrored to the opposite side. So that puts the entrance more towards the center and kind of helps the flow of the addition and the blending of the two. In addition, we did design change to the front dormer. We're showing a IBRAV dormer. I did give an alternate option of a shed dormer, which I think you circulated. I didn't realize I didn't have it, but so I can walk you through the plans or the elevations, or just kind of open up to the questions, comments at this point.
I should go right to elevations, but so your initial comments about the elevation.
Yeah. Elevation. Elevations. So
you have drawings that are open the alternate as well. Then.
I don't actually have them printed out. Do you have them digitally by any chance?
I have a small version.
Do you?
Definitely, yeah. Because that's key.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so the original, I'll just while he's grabbing that, so what we did in this iteration was try to kind of minimize the demo in order to make this front door work. And in my consequent meeting with Dennis, we talked about how that kind of skewed things, like this was the old door opening that we were kind of trying to maintain. And putting the window in there, trying to keep the columns where they are, which they actually frame the door opening right now. And then putting the door kind of where we needed it, which ends up making this kind of wide space between the two. So my discussion with Dennis was it may be better to just take the relationship as it is now, flip flop it, column included. So you can see, thank you for providing this. The two columns kind of frame the door as they do right now. This window is like centering the column, so it's kind of the same relationship that the existing house is right now, just flip flops. And then the other discussion we had
I'm
was.
sorry, what did you flip flop? I was.
Yeah, so, no problem. So, this was our original proposal, and the idea behind this was to kind of minimize the demolition required of the existing structure. I thought that was gonna be a concern, so this window was located within the existing door opening, so it's kind of scooched all the way over. This door is kind of where we need it in order to make the room work, in playing here, so, with this kind of large space here, so. The discussion was, let's just take the original relationship and flip it, so. So this like mirror is exactly what it is right now, so the door is kind of, to one side, this is more centered in the space, and then, columns kind of flanking the door, and the window centered within these two columns.
Okay.
And then in this other iteration, we also looked at a different dormer option to kind of put in front of everybody, so. This one, we had more of an eyebrow dormer with this arched window, and then this one we're showing more of a shed dormer. From the last meeting, there was a concern that we were kind of competing with the the existing dormer there, so I think these two options offer some alternate that help separate it a little bit.
These diagonals indicate that the windows are hinged on the outside, so to the back.
Yeah, so this would be a hinge door, yes, not a.
Oh, sliding door.
Yeah, that's a door. Like a patio, we want it to look more like a patio.
So like a French door.
Exactly, yeah.
Can we flip to the plan to see
Sure.
how that,
So. So front side, this side, so this is the. This is the room we're trying to accommodate here with the new entry, and again, this is showing the relationship with the original. This building, so actually this window would be more centered, and here we probably have to kind of demo more of this wall in order to make it work, but. This is that kind of patio door, this is the original. Correct, right in here. So that one. And then upstairs, we kind of reworked, if you remember, there was a bedroom that was kind of centered in here, we needed the egress window, so it was kind of. Making us have to have a wider addition, so we relocated that bedroom to the rear, where there's plenty of natural light and egress window. And that allows us to kind of narrow up this area. And then this little inset actually creates a nice overhang for side entry off the garage, out of the driveway here.
Big improvements, I would say.
And you did the alternate after you both met. Based on some feedback about this feature.
Yes, yeah, Chris had designed in this level, and then we had a conversation about
Yes.
this was in advance of our last meeting, so had we met, he would have been able to show you all, the alternate design. But yeah, that was.
Yeah, so that was after the first meeting we had as a group, Dennis and I met and then provided this.
I think the thought was that, introducing that curve was a major, everything else about the house is really straight lines. And that, I think we had some discussion at our meeting where we reviewed it, that maybe going with a shed dormer might actually work better. It's more sort of compatible with the historic house.
Just in terms of consistency of the lines and the design with the original.
Yeah, yeah. That, you know, in the sense that this was kind of introducing, it's almost as if these were two separate houses. And that was one of our concerns, I think, that the addition had too much privacy.
So
In
you,
that, you know,
because you had asked for this revision, what's your sense of the latest versus the second, the third versus the second?
I think this version works a lot better, both with the shed dormer and then especially here. This wasn't, you know, it's kind of a nightmare fish nor fowl. I mean, I think in general, sort of flipping or sort of altering the main entrance is something that I think in most houses really wouldn't work. I think in this particular house, it actually does. You know, that's, you know, it's kind of thing, it's not sort of a blanket thing that we can be sort of flipping facades, but I think with this particular house, it worked well. Providing we sort of take the whole thing, you know, sort of and not, so you still have that same relationship of columns to window, or, you know, so you preserve that relationship, even though you flip it as opposed to this particular way. So, yeah, no, I think, you know, long story short is I think this later iteration is much better.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
I agree also. I think we're in a great agreement.
And I should say, I agree.
I agree.
No,
No, but I think it works. It works better. And I think one version had this as a continuous roof line, and I think stepping that down works much better too.
Yeah, the shed roof really starts at the ridge line.
Yeah, yeah, so in this view, it would be. You know, kind of coming right like that.
apparently you're changing materials here, is this metal?
Yeah, just to get a lower slope there. You know, I think we're probably under a 312, so metal roof.
And this is also a roof
Correct.
sloping.
Yes, and in profile, it's step back as well.
Very nice.
So,
Okay, good. Okay. I think we're in agreement. Thanks for your work.
Okay, great. Thanks.
And thank you for your patience while the process played out, so.
My pleasure.
Great.
Okay.
Good. So I'll let kind of know.
Okay.
And then we'll sign off on.
Great.
On the CD.
Okay, pretty good, guys. Thank you very much.
If Kevin lost anything about any zoning stuff,
He said all the zoning stuff's fine.
Okay.
When he sent me an email, they saying it couldn't make it.
okay,
I just wanted to let you know that. So we're good to go.
All right, thanks, guys.
Okay, yeah, I believe, recommended feeling that we can unanimous approval of the alternate design. And we can do it. You know, just. You don't have to write a lot about it, just to sort of capture it.
okay.
Okay, great, good. All right then.
Thank you.
Take care.
That-
Take care.
Okay. So. Let's move our third one, special direction and tour that Kevin Block has put together. And this is great. This is gonna be great. I mean, I'm really, and also I'm gonna mention that we're gonna do this, right? We have other partners in addition to the borough, and the borough's gonna kick in. We had wanted to offer the speakers and honorary. So the borough will be kicking in some money, as will Lower Merion Historical Society and the Lower Merion Conservancy. That's great. So we'll be able to partnership to give them both honoraria and also have some funds left over to have refreshments.
Yeah,
So anyway, so I'll throw it over to you. You can fill in.
so we have a flyer. Which actually is already posted on the Narberth Bookshop website. I can forward it to you after, if anyone wants to see it. It's just for a book talk. Which will be approximately 40 minutes.
And the date again is,
Oh, sorry, I will give you all the details. Anyway,
there's one thing I wanted to ask you about in terms of like with the flyer and with sort of promotions.
yeah,
How we're doing promotion and sort of things that, you know, some of us could do, maybe contribute to that, because I'm thinking, we haven't put it on the Long Range Historical Society website, we can certainly push it on that as well.
Is this the flyer?
that's the flyer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, perfectly with this.
Oh, great. Yeah, so this is an event Saturday, October 5th. From 3 to 3:50 PM at Narberth Bookshop. Ellen, I don't know her last name, the owner, Trachtenberg. Yeah, she's been very enthusiastic and has given us her venue. She's gonna order some books through Yale University Press. We'll meet there. She says the capacity is 40. That's kind of tight, but
She's got 40 chairs in the back room.
It is cozy, but I've been to talks there.
is that right?
Yeah, and you know, they move things around, I mean, they move the tables with the books around.
So she's running registration for us,
Is she?
which
Okay.
she wanted to do because those are all newsletter contacts for her, so there's some value in that.
So should we go in there and sign up?
I think if you just email. There was a link, but if you go to the website on Narberth Bookshop. Her email address is currently listed as the way to register.
So it's a must register event because of limited capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
but then after 3:50, there's a guided tour. To the Millwood Justice House at 1104 Montgomery Avenue, which is one of Parker Nichols's houses, and we were hoping to go inside, but it'll just be the exterior. The talk and the trip, the field trip, the guided tours by Bill Whitaker and Molly Lester. Bill Whitaker's the head of the Architectural Archives at UPenn. And Molly, this is her research project that has been developed from a thesis on historic preservation. And they're both co-authors of this book. So should be really good and very professional, you know, and definitely high quality, and it'll be fun. So there's a little bit of everything. We have to do promotion.
Yeah.
Refreshments. I'm happy to buy stuff. But to figure out where the money is going. Can Narberth Harb accept money?
We can run, if you want to run you through Lower Merion Historical or through.
Okay.
I think either one of those will work out fine. I think the, I remember, I think the Historical Society is giving us 150.
Historical Society is giving 150. Lower Merion Conservancy is giving us 150.
Oh,
And
okay, and we were, I mean, borough, another borough, I thought there were,
there's 2 150s and 100.
oh, okay, okay,
So we have 400. So yeah,
okay, great.
but our honor area, we were planning for 150 apiece.
Yeah. All right, so, yeah.
use $100 for pretzels.
Right. Anyway,
Chocolate.
I mean, I'm happy to go to like Costco and buy stuff or. Does anyone have any recommendations for $100 budget for 40
So,
people?
Pretzels.
Okay,
You know what's good is just
or soft pretzels, you mean?
veggie dip,
Okay,
cut veggies and something to, you know, come to.
Party day.
yeah,
The
okay.
famous
Ah.
Ted Cruz. So yeah, we could do that, yeah. We're doing, the Historical Society is doing an event a little later in the month. And then by middle of October, we'll probably switch to like spiced wafers or. And cider or something like that, but I think it's still kind of early enough that we can go and put it away.
Could we get the Greeks involved or something and?
Yeah. Because, you know, it's, I don't know, it's such a tight space and I kind of didn't want the professionals to be that much of a.
Tight budget too, I mean, if you get a real caterer, then your money won't go very far.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking that they might as a local event, they might make a contribution. Even if it's a small one.
Yes.
I could ask, I'm happy to ask anyone.
Okay.
I'll tell you, Fred Bush was at the Narberth Festival yesterday, with his wife, and they were singing the praises of this Minerva event, saying like they had no idea, and you know, people were talking about it, and so, that just started a whole,
That's good.
Was this at Music Fest?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that was the thing, when I, before their last meeting is when I asked them for some money. And, part of the reason for asking for money is so it gets the word to them early on, so, you know. And so, yeah, we heard back from them immediately, so, yeah, I mean, I think I think that they really liked the 3 program series that we did a couple of years ago, and so, I mean, I think they'd be supportive of any of this stuff, so if.
I was just so happily surprised how well presented and received and attended that series was.
Yeah, I'm still shocked, I mean, we were pulling like 60, 70 people.
Yeah.
So I think it was good, I think going with sort of joint sponsorship is really a good thing, I mean, this one is really very much. Sort of our thing that others are coming in on too, so I mean, because it was initiated, Kevin initiated it. But I think it's good, I mean, I think, establishing partnerships, and now we're establishing one with Lower Marion Historical Society, which we didn't have before, so. I think that's good, and, you can see us definitely doing more stuff with that in the future. Especially as we've got the Vicky Donahoe book project that's moving forward now, and so we have like a 3-member committee of the Historical Society that's picking out images now and kind of figuring out, okay, what should this book project be? And then subsequently, what kind of online presence could this project have in terms of like, story maps and, different kinds of ways of getting this information out in like chunk of,
Can you
bite-sized pieces.
tell us what this project is?
Yeah, sure. This was Vicky Donahoe, who was an historian, and she was a Philadelphia Fire Art critic for 60 years.
Okay.
She had been working on a history of Narberth for probably the last 40 years, and she published pieces of it in the past on various sort of like anniversary publications and stuff. And so the incompleted manuscript that existed at the time of her death in 2017. Late 2018, she willed it to the Lower Marion Historical Society. And so the Historical Society is now moving forward with trying to publish it.
It was completed.
It was completed in a draft form, and then one of her friends in Narberth Park, Nancy,
Green.
yeah, Nancy Green worked with her on it and basically typed it and brought the various drafts together and sort of put together what is the final version of it. So, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it covers Narberth history up to about 1995, so up to about the time of the 100th anniversary of the borough. So what it is, it's a sort of a text, it's just text that goes like, so.
Does
now-
it have imagery?
It will, and see, that we're doing now is, Vicky had been collecting pictures and she did their hand-drawn maps that she had done for it and stuff, so we're in the midst of kind of reviewing that material and then figuring out, what things have copyright restrictions, which things don't. And so it'll probably be a combination of images that she's pulled together, along with things that are in the Lower Marion Historical Society's collection. Because they have a lot of knowledge related.
So you and the Historic Society are involved with getting that to the
Yeah.
finish line.
Yeah. I knew Vicky really well, and actually she didn't quite survive long enough to make her 90th birthday, so we had a birthday party for her anyway. And so we used the Girl Scout for them at the community building.
Is everybody familiar with ArcGIS story maps?
Yeah. think so, right? Yeah.
You guys, have you used it? It's so cool. I don't know if it would lend itself to a project like that.
Well, and that's what we were talking about. We're talking about trying to do those story maps.
That,
Yeah, and that's, this is the kind of stuff like, especially Kathleen Appel has. You know, she loves that kind of outreach, and I think.
Yeah.
That's gonna, I mean, I think there's a market for the book, but it's a limited market. I mean, I can imagine it's sort of like selling X number at the beginning and then few over time. But I think where the material's really gonna reach people is in the kind of bite-sized chunks of the story now.
yeah,
You know, gives you, and, cause it's, you know, it's a book you would wanna refer to, it's not like a page turner, you know what I mean, where you wanna sit down and like go all the way through it, but it's very well indexed. So you'll be able to, you know, like if you wanna know about,
it's a reference guy.
yeah, but it's also, it's kind of, I'm looking at it as kind of a mixture of sort of like the history and then memoir, because Vicky grew up in Harvard, and her parents, the house where she grew up and lived until she died, was her parents born in 1923. And she was born in 1929 and lives there really her whole life, so. So it's you know, it's about living in Narberth during that kind of time too. So anyway. Yeah. So I think there's gonna be some nice opportunities there. To sort of share information. And the other thing too is that, you know, from the Historical Society standpoint, they are, I mean, they're called the Lower Merion Historical Society, but their purview is Lower Merion and Narberth. And I think this really solidifies the Narberth commitment. Also, and their collection does reflect, there's quite a lot of Narberth material, a lot of stuff about the Narberth School. And sort of about Narberth in general, so, I think that's good. I would like to see at some point, them consider a branding change. That would bring Narberth into the name of the organization. Maybe one that sort of shifts it from being called a society to something else that's, you know, more, I mean, I think a lot of organizations have gone to like the Berks County History Center. So as a place to study history and know about history more than a society. The organization put a new set of bylaws together. So it's not an organization that's run by the members anymore the way it was. It's really run by the governing board, sort of like the Philadelphia Museum of Art. I mean, it's that you can be a member of the museum, but it's not a voting role. Say. So anyway, I think all of this is going to be really good, and I kind of Steve kind of Vicky's book is being read. We actually featured it. The Historic Society's annual meeting was the end of April, and they featured this book project.
The historical, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
The Historical Society, their full name is Historical Society of Lower Merion.
The Lower Merion Historical Society.
Lower Merion Historical
Yes,
Society.
yeah.
Do they have any formal relationship with Lower Merion Historical Commission? Or the Conservancy,
Just a working relationship.
Okay,
There's no sort of, yeah.
like a societal?
Yes, and so, and they kind of, as an organization, they kind of went into sort of a slumber during the pandemic, and they've kind of come out of it about two years ago. And so they're building a lot of new relationships.
And do they have a building or are they a web presence only?
They have a building that actually they don't own, they're in the Academy building over on the property, Balakin,
Middle school.
adjacent to the middle school and right behind the
Okay.
elementary school. This was it was originally a school building, made 1812. It was the school. It was the school building, and it was on land that was given by a Quaker, local Quaker, and it could only be used for education. And so that's one of the reasons why they built those other two schools on that land, is because it had already been stipulated that that was for educational purposes.
It was
So-
probably all the same tract.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it was a huge tract of land, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, yeah, so they're there, and so they occupy, this school system owns it, they occupy the second floor. So, you know, their archives, meeting rooms, library, is all up on the second floor, and then there's there are like two meeting rooms on the first floor as well.
Interesting.
And they're open, Wednesday nights from 7 to 9, if anybody would like to come and look at, they have a great collection of atlases. They have a great real estate, they have a collection of real estate cards. So anything was sold in the township in Arbor between like 1949 and about 1990. We should have real estate cards there.
Do they have a digital archive?
Beginning to have one. They have a website. There's quite a lot of material on the website as well. And I think the idea, we've just hired, I say we because I'm on the board, but just hired our first paid employee, who's an archivist, who's been working on pulling sort of better storage, better housing of the materials and all that. So she's been great and been working a lot with the volunteers. And we've had interns, had some terrific interns from Villanova. And University of Delaware this past year, who've been helping us develop things, so. I mean, it's like, there's a really nice energy in the organization. They had a condition assessment, collections assessment done. If any of you know Michael Henry, who lives in New Jersey, he's the preservation architect and engineer.
Yep.
And he's also teaching at the University of Delaware. He brought a group of students up and they were working on doing a sort of a sustainability plan.
Yeah, I think that is a really important project. And building both the community aspect and the digital aspect will only enhance connectivity of all of this information that
Yep.
sort of generates the
Yeah.
future of that as an institution.
Yeah, no, I think so. And I had been on their board, 20 some odd years ago and cycled off of it and. And coming back to it has been really good because it's, they're just, as I say, there's a whole new energy. It's all new people. I think the entire board is all new, except for one person who's a carryover from the previous board. So we have him for institutional memory.
Yeah,
But there's a very nice energy. The woman who's vice president, is Erin Bittner, Bentley, who's very instrumental in the whole Save Oakwell stuff.
oh, yeah.
And she's been really terrific. So yeah, it's fun. It's been fun. So I mean, I'd encourage anybody, if you want to stop by on Wednesday night between 7 and 9, we're open for some Saturday hours. We have it like once a month for Saturday,
Yeah,
but come on, you just.
Is there a good archive to raid like we did here?
A good archive to read? Yeah, oh yeah. But it did have some fun, right? It just going over the atlases. The atlases are really terrific.
The railroad atlases?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are great.
No, they're really good. They're well prepared. At some point, I think we'd like to try to, right now they're bound, they're on each page on the class. We'd like to do it, I think, and just digitize it again. They were, there's not, the versions available online are not particularly good. We really could have better ones, but that whole project, I think, would be really nice.
yeah, and I'm sure the technology of archiving that type of whatever it is, artifact or drawing or writing even has probably gotten only better and better.
Yeah, no, it's got some really good stuff, so, yeah. There's lots to be done, but they're trying to do more and more public programs. Some of them are in-person programs, some have been virtual. If you look at the website, they have some of the ones that were recorded are available to be seen as well, and sort of delving into, deeper into Lower Merion history, the Quaker background and all that, but also that we really begin looking at sort of stories that haven't been told. There's a lot of it. There's a program, they're sponsoring a program coming up on a scholar, his name was Robert Moses, and he was a
Yeah.
African American guy out of Ardmore, became an art historian.
The other
Robert,
Moses.
not the one who worked anywhere, but anyway, he was an art historian, came out of Ardmore and so this made a program about him. A lot of it about women who had plaque dedication, a state plaque, to women who were developing landscape plans in the early part of the 20th century. So so it's a lot of it is dealing with sort of histories that haven't been told. One of our interns did a whole thing. He was examining the history of slavery in eastern Pennsylvania. And just turned up some really remarkable work.
Yeah, that also sounds like public outreach to local schools would be a really great way to enhance presence in the community as well.
Yeah, we had somebody who was a social studies teacher on the board, and he cycled off, so now we're looking for somebody else, but yeah, maintaining a connection like that with the school, like a meaningful connection with the
Yeah.
school system.
And maybe it starts with the teacher
Yeah.
too, or principal.
Yeah. And a lot of it has to do with kind of breaking through barriers, because as most of you know, like curricula is so formulated that sometimes it's hard to break in. But they do have state history and local history, so but at certain grade levels, so I think there's an option there to really do that. So yeah, there's lots to be done. That's something that the city, so.
Dennis, I've been to a Lorimer Historical Society event in the past, and they have a table with their various programs. Do you think they'd wanna set up a table, and if so, in Narberth, if you set up a table on the sidewalk, do you have to permit it?
Yeah, we've had tables at like our birthday a few times. But I'm not sure how it works.
Okay, but they would be interested in setting it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it would be nice for at the event on the 5th, it'd be nice to have even a small table set up by the Conservancy as well as Lorimer and Stark. I think that would be really good.
So ask Ellen if she has
Yeah,
extra
if-
tables.
Yeah, I don't wanna cut into like seating space, but
No, I was thinking outside.
I don't. We could check with the borough. I don't think that would be a problem. Or something
Okay.
we really need to, so this, they do sidewalk stuff all the time. I don't think that's permitted. So,
Yeah, for a one day
one day thing.
setup,
Yeah.
Okay,
I would
Call it lemonade stand.
beg forgiveness on the next.
Yeah, I think we, not really care.
They let you drink beer in the street and listen to music.
Exactly. So clearly anything.
So
Okay.
our moral stature is already so compromised.
Yeah, but this thing, we're just gonna go to hell in a handbasket if we start setting up a table with historic stuff.
Yeah, with a beer in one hand.
And a Jenny's ice cream in the other.
Yeah,
So that's what double fisted. I'm making numbers now, right? Yeah. Okay, great. All right, so we'll talk more about that and sort of figure it out and sort of where we need to market it. I was a little nervous on marketing it too much because we have a cap. But I think
Don't worry about marketing it too much. I'd err on the side of going
Yeah,
down.
that was what I sort of came.
And then if you can't fit everybody in, that's a good problem.
And you do, and then you look at other things and you have a list of people who are interested, so
Yeah.
no, that was kind of what I kind of come around to after a while. Anyway, so, okay, great. So yeah, as you know, Kevin, like be in touch with all those, whatever you want, you need help doing or want folks to be doing, and we're happy to do it, so.
Yes.
there's the Narberth Facebook page, it's very popular, can someone post on there?
Yeah, there's the Narberth Community Network page, Developing Narberth page.
Do you have access to those or?
I've access, yes, I've access to the Narberth Community Network page. I do, I don't put on trouble there. I think, the Narberth page, isn't that Ed which way runs that? You remember?
sounds right.
I think that's right.
One is every one sort.
I can send it to.
Yeah, Narberth Community is Dave Pinsky and Gary. So,
Dave, who doesn't live in Narberth?
yes, but I don't need it. It's the community. They refer to that as nearly, don't they?
Yeah.
Yes, that's right, yes. Okay, great. Okay, good. All right, we'll have a public comment. I see a member from the public that we haven't seen before. What can we do for you?
Yeah, so just here, during was the historic meeting, just wanted to get a sense of what it was, get more involved in my community.
Oh, great.
I'll say it. Yeah,
You came in after we had a presentation of somebody that had an application for review.
okay,
And there was a discussion about a property that is being renovated.
Okay.
There's some, I mean, sometimes, work that's planned triggers a review, we need to look at it, for a certificate of appropriateness. Other times we'll do advisory reviews, so that whole thing, but yeah, this was, we only have the one project to look at today, but yeah, no, happy to have you.
Yeah, excellent.
Is there a property you're looking at, or is there something?
No, I'm new to the area.
Oh, great.
And just trying to get a better understanding how the committee works.
Oh, great, yeah, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're sort of tied into building and zoning, so as you know, as proposals are submitted, our zoning officer flags things that need to come to our review. We're an advisory panel, so we're basically advisors to Borough Council on preservation matters. So we've been in existence for a couple of years now. We had a historic preservation ordinance passed, about maybe almost 3 years ago now. And so that basically created us as a board. So like I say, we're an advisory board. But so okay, so any other things folks want to bring up?
I have two things for new business. One is related to our meeting that didn't happen because of a lack of quorum, and we discussed on email the possibility of our doing this virtually. And we had some opinions on whether it's allowed, and Fred Bush weighed in on that to say it is allowed. And I wanted to just come back to that to see if it would make sense to consider or adopting a policy of having somebody who's participating virtually to be eligible to count towards a quorum. It was, I believe, supported by Fred in this, and I think he cited that this went to some higher level of authority for, during the pandemic, for a consideration, and he said that the governing body, the Borough Council, is governed by a different set of rules than we are as an advisory committee. And they're restricted by some law, I don't know what, that we are not. And he was actually encouraging us to consider that in the name of efficiency. And I thought, having raised this in the first place, why not? I mean, we've been able to understand how it works technologically and survive during the pandemic. And boards and governing bodies were able to continue doing what they were doing virtually.
No, I think it's definitely worth pursuing. I think they were gonna try to get a read from our solicitor on it, and I didn't hear an upshot of it if they ever did approach John Walco about it. But it would make sense, for me to be able to operate that way.
Kevin, often, the other Kevin,
What's that planning commission?
I think the planning commission got a negative,
Yeah,
that idea from the solicitor.
got a negative.
I think so. Doesn't affect me because I'm here anyway.
but it'd be interesting.
By way of John Walco?
Mhm.
Really?
That's my understanding. I didn't.
Because I know that they do, planning commission bill also does require reform, but, now was that was relaxed during the pandemic and then instituted again?
Could be.
Okay, so, yeah,
So if it were relaxed, therefore, I mean, they had enough flexibility to make it happen then.
yeah, but that would have been done probably in a special.
That was,
On to
I
emergency.
forgot what the technical term for the pandemic was, but it was like a state of emergency type of, global.
So it was an exception to the rule.
I think the conditions
Right.
under which it was
I
allowed
believe so.
were exceptional.
All right. Does anybody agree that it's worth looking at again to see if it's something that we could consider if acceptable?
Well, yeah, and I think,
Yeah.
and I don't think it's for us, I mean, I think we can pursue it, we can answer the question, and I'd love to know more about what the governing regulation is, and, you know, and I think we could suggest that be taken a look at again, and also maybe ask the question is, does our operation differ essentially from other commissions? And so, you know, is that, or, you know, would we be considered specifically part of that also? Or not, but I mean, I think just getting a little clarity, this one, I don't have any clarity around it at all. All I knew was the rule, and so when we didn't have the quorum for last month, we didn't have it.
I just felt badly because you know, we're bound by turnaround times that we couldn't meet, and people are, you know, they have their projects and they have their architects on the hook
Turnaround time for,
for our response.
like, are you,
We have,
I'm thinking specifically about the demolition, when planning commission made the call about demolition of, what are we, 200 block Haverford. What is it, 200? I don't remember.
there's, I think, probably several examples of
But
things where we're
I
on the
think-
clock.
I mean, I think that's a great point. But I think that is a point to be pursued as a matter of protocol in our, as a contingent body of planning commission. That we would require at least 1 week for review of any type of statement that planning commission is issuing for us to review and then going to council. I do think that that is a very important part of our function, that needs to be made clear, not to go off on a tangent from what you're referring to. But I do think that might be sort of a miscategorization of that particular situation. It's something more a matter of like, we need a grace period
Yeah.
to review things.
Yeah, well, and also too, I mean, with that particular project, you know, that we just do tonight, you know, we reviewed that in July. It was not an approvable project in July, we gave them an opportunity to revise it. And, so yeah, we didn't meet last month, but that was a pretty quick turnaround, and there was.
But the non-meeting was on us, that was purely internal. Right,
was-
it wasn't having to do with the
Yes.
applicants.
No,
It
no.
was us,
Yes.
so you know, that was one that was
We failed to meet.
purely
We didn't do
correctable if we had the procedure in place.
Right.
Mhm.
But I mean, that was an unusual occurrence, I mean, for us not to have a forum.
Yes.
You know, and actually some are, like, I know the planning commission doesn't even meet in August,
That's right.
And this is why,
and that's,
because you can count on people being on vacation.
yeah, and, yeah,
Well, I mean, that's another matter. If we feel like we don't want to meet in August, that's fine.
just build
But
it
that's
up.
another whole
Yeah.
topic.
We're also about, what's that?
Applicants would know that's going in.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, so, okay.
So that was my thought on procedure. And then I had a question on the way over. Just driving by a project that we have talked about and looked at right here a block away on Dudley, where these 2 houses on the same property that are receiving some very nice treatment, it seems. And I don't remember they're coming here, but they're doing good work.
The 100 block of Dudley?
Yeah,
Yeah, they came in. Yeah,
okay,
yeah, they came,
So I'm
they presented to us.
Okay.
Because there was a porch, they were removing an enclosed porch on one. And then the other one, it was. the
yeah,
other one was-
and it was nominal because it was all copacetic work, right?
Yeah.
Everything they wanted to do, we were completely good with. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the reason we had to review the one on the right was because they were gonna be changing the size of the windows on the main facade.
Right.
But no, I mean, I think we all gave them really positive feedback when they came in.
Because as I drove by, I thought they looked very nice.
Yeah, every time I drive by, it gets a little better. I mean, opening up
Yeah.
that porch, I specifically went and actually shot some pictures of it before. So that we could have good befores and afters.
So-
And I mean, here's another example of where, you know, this might be something you might want to consider in the future. I think we talked about it a little bit. is to try to institute some kind of like a preservation award. So when people are doing like really good,
Yeah.
good work.
That's a great idea.
We can recognize that, I mean, there have been several of these.
Yeah.
Like the tower,
What's that?
like the cap that they replaced.
Yeah,
And that was a
Right.
great expense to them.
yeah,
Yeah, having awards is great, as well as just as many cases as possible of before and after photos. Just as illustrations and examples to reference.
but that particular project undoubtedly, I think, was an example of why this ordinance has been successful. It's because those buildings were both been slated for demolition, and the site would have been redeveloped.
Right.
But because we had an ordinance, they rehabbed them instead.
Mhm.
And I mean, that's,
Right.
That's why we're here.
that's why we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no, I thought they're both turning out beautiful. You know, honestly. And those are important houses.
I think the borough will probably publish a feature in the newsletter were we to present that one to
Yes.
publish.
Absolutely.
And,
One or several.
yeah, when we're,
Before and after,
so
so
tell every
compelling.
yeah,
Oh,
before and,
yeah.
before and after, and say, this is the.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep,
It's a product of the stuff we're working on.
yep, and that's a poster child right there, that.
Poster child.
So, did you take the before? You did, so we have it, that's great.
Yeah, we do. No, because I mean, but anyway, yes, and I was really encouraged that, well, that was like our feel good project. In the past.
But that's not the only one, there's now, well, as we were saying before, there's now a body of work.
Yeah.
That, of projects we've touched.
Mhm. Well, there's one actually that hasn't started construction, it's gonna be really nice, that corner one, it's gonna be from that dentist office.
That's right.
The one on Windsor, they haven't begun construction. But that one, at least as far as like the way the project changed, the design changed over time. No, I think this.
May I suggest that this could be an interesting project if ever we were to find an intern or somebody who would want to take on cataloging this body of work.
No,
It
that
would be
would
pretty compelling.
that'd be fine. But I mean, I think everybody remembers how kind of rampant demolitions were before the ordinance,
Mhm.
and
How rampant was it? I mean, in a year. Did you think we would have had 4 or 5 knockdowns?
Oh, yeah.
oh, sure,
Yes,
More than that.
yes.
more than that. Yeah, it was open season.
The code change also put the brakes on. The code change made.
Yeah.
Made it much more difficult. to do a tear. The year before. There
Well,
was
tell me
something,
between thing before preservation came along.
it was before preservation,
Yeah,
it was just the form-based code imposes a whole bunch of criteria that are discouraging tear downs. That's how we sold it to the council.
Yeah. But I think that council's going to see that a lot of very sort of reasonable and usable buildings. I mean, part of it really ties into the notion of what's an affordable house. I mean, and I think the one that really, to me anyway, the one that was really very indicative is the one, that little sort of $350,000-$400,000 house on what is that? Woodbine, on Woodbine, right at the head of Essex, which was, eminently usable but, it was torn down and a very expensive house went up in its place. So that
Right.
metric,
that's under near completion now, right?
no, it was completed. It was before, it was a while ago. But I mean, that I think kind of showed that the metric was that nothing was really gonna be safe from that, if indeed you could load up a lot, like even with the form-based code. I mean, they were able to meet the form-based code, but still, tear down a relatively modest home and put up something that was gonna be really big.
It's wasteful.
It's wasteful, yeah.
And I think, I'm gonna sort of filter my opinion on this matter, but I think as Historical Architectural Review Board for Narberth. If we take our eyes off of Sabine, we're not gonna see much different happen there. I think that school is, there are so many people going in so many different directions on how to handle that. That one, I think the matter of protocol really must be in place before they start making calls on what to do. They, you know, council, even planning commission, but I think primarily council. I think it really is our duty to advise on that property. I know Heidi, feels very strongly about that as well. Just in terms of identifying pieces of the fabric that are perfectly, salvageable and usable.
Yeah.
And to see, I think there's a kind of, laziness built into the path of least resistance to demolition. That says it's just so much to pick apart what we keep and what we don't.
Is there a decision-making review process that can be affected? For a decision to what to do with this, or is it just ongoing?
Well, one thought I had is, if Harb could really firm up how we fit into that decision-making process, not in terms of our parameters of review,
Yeah.
but in terms of when this is received,
Yeah.
you have this much time to review, at which point it goes to Harb, and they have this much time to review, at which point it goes to council. And we are a linear part of that review process, instead of, as you were alluding to in the case of, Haverford development. Okay, planning commission took up all the time. Hey, I was a member of planning commission for years. I know how it works, and there are a lot of things to cover for planning commission, from zoning to, to form-based code and sustainability and everything. But pencils down, and then it's Harb's turn. So we can't be marginalized in the
Well,
process.
I think the part of that particular project where the Harb has a role is in the sort of, we have a general responsibility to advise council on preservation matters. And that would fall under that. It doesn't fall under our particular purview because the school was built later. So the school is not part of the buildings that we can only regulate buildings pre-1945. So because the school was 1962,
Okay.
it doesn't follow, but I'm saying, I think we still have an ability to at least advise council on preservation, as we did when it was coming up, when they were gonna have a vote on it.
Yeah.
You know, and.
So despite the fact that we don't have,
wrote a letter, Jim was there, you were there, I was there, and so, you know, when we were representing Harb in that advisory capacity, you know,
right,
so.
I wonder,
1960, the 1945 date was appealing to Borough Council.
Right.
Partly because of the school.
oh, really?
Oh.
I didn't
I
realize
wondered
that.
if not
I
to
didn't realize that.
be subjected to that.
Yeah.
I wonder if there is any, kind of clause that says, you know, buildings over 10,000 square feet are subject to, special review or something.
Probably would be a hard.
It's after the fact, so perhaps it could be just like a friend of Borough Council brief type thing.
Well, that's what I said, it was within an advisory role.
Yeah.
to have. The other thing is, you know, councils change and they may entertain a notion of a date that goes beyond 1945. Both the, Lower American Conservancy worked on our ordinance, as did the state of Pennsylvania. The state of Pennsylvania was fine with either of those dates. So the sticking point really was, I think, there was a feeling that we could pass what Borough Council would support. So, I mean, I think it'd be worth returning to that at some point and make the case, which I think can be made, for why, you know, if you're look at the town's development, it doesn't stop at 1945. In fact, 1945 is, you know, sort of it's a made up date anyway.
Well, the fact that there's this term called mid-century modern gives that whole group of design elements credibility as something that is
Yeah.
recognized to be preserved.
Well, even if it's not mid-century modern, I mean, I think even in terms of like looking at, was it Chloe put together sort of construction by decade? And,
Mhm.
you know, so you have it, a lot of construction in the teens and twenties, slowed up during the Depression a little bit, but picking up. And then in the 1940s, you had the war, but then after the war, it picks up, and you've got a really steady development here in the late 40s throughout the 1950s and early 60s. So
Yeah, it was a boom.
right, so in other words, and look at all, I mean, how many of the sort of the spaces that were filled in Narberth. So, you know, we're not just talking about a railroad suburb, we're talking about a suburb that developed around Levelville too. You know, and that to me is the most interesting, if you look at residential, to me, that's the most interesting thing, is that we have every sort of housing type from 1870 to 1970, you've got your split levels, you've got, you know, you have twins, you have 1940s twins, which look different, you know what I mean? So you really have a full, in a half a square mile, everything's happening, you know, and I think there's a case that can be made for that.
Well, we're talking really about two different things, because I believe you brought it up regarding the school. And, you know, that's one project. And beyond that, there's the whole group of properties that come under that era. But if you're concerned immediately for weighing in on the school, I don't know if we have to do a rule change to do that.
No, and nothing, as I'm saying, nothing prevents us from weighing in on the school as a preservation issue.
Right.
It's, as they say, as a building, and then we would make that clear, as a building, it's not, but
Right.
as a matter of preservation, as a matter of not sending all of this material to a landfill for no
Right.
reason.
Yeah.
And, you know, these buildings are rehabbed all the time, but I think in preparation for this, the borough never really talked to people who do that stuff.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. And, you know, like in US government, you have separation of powers. You have executive, judicial, legislative, all doing their part to make sure that the people who are solving the problems they're meant to solve. Not trying to solve the problems of other, and I think sometimes council falls into a pattern of behavior where they're trying to solve the problems that they need a consultant to solve. Like Sabine is a complex, it's not just a building, it's
Yeah.
not just a school, it is a complex of buildings. And there is utility that exists within that structure. And council can identify that and figure out how to make that work with the program, that's what you hire an architect to do, or a master plan.
Sure.
Or something like that. And so I think, you know, council gets stuck because they're like, I can't solve this problem, and they don't wanna take the time to spend money to have someone.
There's a lot, I mean, also too, in their defense, I mean, there's a lot going on. But I think all the more reason to try to bring in the expertise you need to help you make better decisions.
And you made a good point about diverting waste from the landfill, that it could well be that this really isn't on harm because of the date. But maybe it's on planning commission, or maybe we use sustainability advisor to say, look, if you wanna make a vanity of the hoops we jump through to get Ruben to agree to green building ordinance on Main Street, go ahead and take this building down, but if you wanna make this the new standard for Narberth development, then let's take it one step further and hold someone else's feet to the fire to make Sabine yet another example of how sustainability
Yeah.
can be done.
Well, there's probably potential for that, because I mean, that whole process kind of went to sleep.
And I'm wondering, like,
I don't
has
know.
this come up or,
Is it?
Only in the back room.
yeah, oh, yeah, no, I'm not.
Well, they point of some years ago, there was a study done that justified its demolition according to the costs of renovation and repair. And they pointed to that, the E-Consult study and said, okay, it's done, but that was years ago. So apparently they didn't, obviously they didn't act on it, so.
Yeah.
Is the conversation still happening, but just not in,
Only in the back room.
yeah,
I'm saying it again,
yeah,
pointedly.
yeah, yeah.
There are conversations going on,
About saving.
very, importantly, I think it was excluded from the current parks master planning effort.
Um,
Now, arguably, it's a park, Central Park. Part of it is a playground.
Yeah.
Which qualifies it as a park. Major use of the community up there, you've all seen the signs, not sure what the hell they mean.
Yeah.
You know,
What sign? What sign?
the ones that proliferate in that neighborhood.
Oh, there's
About
lawn
no
signs.
development.
Yeah.
What does no development mean? Does that mean we don't have remotely rights? Does it mean we don't build any buildings? I think that's what
That's,
the advocates have in mind, fearing that it's gonna get sold to a developer who's gonna build a townhouse development there. I suspect that's the motivation.
Yeah.
It's never been made clear to me what the combatants are arguing about up there. I know there is some,
Open space.
there's a lot of anxiety. They want green space, whatever that is. What is green space? That's what they want, and nobody's defined what that would possibly mean. It's a large parcel. Bigger than you think when you factor in the Victory Garden portion of it, the parking lot and all that. It's a lot of acreage.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of needs that could be satisfied by appropriate use of that land.
Yeah.
Including, in my opinion, large parts of the school. You know that there's an auditorium buried in there?
Yeah,
And I believe there's also a functioning elevator.
Well, that's new.
It's new, there's a new elevator.
It's a couple of years old. Heidi did work on that. And that was to make the building essentially handicapped accessible, but it wasn't part of
There's a new drainage room, there's a new drainage system roof. You know, it needs things, you know, it needs windows. But I think in terms of rehabs, it's eminently manageable. I mean, I'd love to see somebody come in and do a presentation, someone who develops historic properties.
Yeah.
And in schools like this, I mean, you look at the building and you can kind of, you begin to figure out what it could be. I mean, that whole.
Are you wanting to see somebody come in and
Oh,
do a
yeah.
presentation?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We will help find that person or people,
Well,
or we can.
the word was from council, the meeting that we had made when this was on the table, was that they already visited that. No sense in going back and changing everything, which anyone who works in an office of architecture knows the plans change every day. And
That's
don't
what I'm wondering, if decisions have
rest
been
your
made.
laurels on a decision you made 5 years ago, because times change and plans need to be updated. And, look, I commend council for the efforts they're putting forward to try to solve these problems. But outreach to people, consultants, experienced professionals who can solve these problems creatively, quickly, efficiently, I think would change the game for council. They'd see it through fresh lens and say, we can do it. But if it's a problem that they can't solve themselves, it becomes a hurdle.
You're presuming they want to have, they would like to
That's
consider a
exactly
different
the
outcome.
point. If they can't solve it themselves, then it can't be solved.
You're presuming that they want to have a different outcome that they've already come to. Maybe they're good with it.
You know what, I think, I'm happy to sort of continue with this diagram, but I think, we're still part of, and so we're not talking preservation anymore, so really, beyond a certain point, so.
Just preserving the status quo, Dennis.
Oh, that, anyway, so, let's go ahead and adjourn the meeting unless there's something else that you want to talk about. But I think this is a good conversation, and, I think that's part of our advocacy role, clearly.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, so, okay, go ahead,
I have
Kevin?
one thing to add.
Sure.
Our next meeting is for October 14th, which is a federal holiday because it's Columbus Day.
Yeah, that's happened to us before, I think, too, yeah.
Indigenous persons.
And Indigenous Persons Day,
Um,
People's Day.
Yeah, we have met on, I'm happy to bump that. If we have a day, as long as we advertise it in advance. So, let's see,
It goes 7 days forward, it goes to the 21st.
we can do it then. I don't know if we'll have anything to review by at that point, because really, it's been pretty quiet, I mean, except for that project on Dudley. So, yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to bump it to the 21st, if that would work at a Monday night. for
Yeah.
you all.
Okay.
Okay, good, all right, so I'll go ahead and let the borough know that we're gonna move it. Perfect, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, that's happened on a few Monday holidays, I think we met on one of them, but, anyway, no, happy to remove that. Okay, any other new business, anything else to talk about before we adjourn? Okay, a motion to adjourn,
So moved.
Jim moves, seconded. Second. Great, so,
All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
I think everybody had seconded it, so that's.
We have another second?
Great, thank you.